This is episode 2 of Weekly Laravel Updates. Welcome back. We've been digging through the latest in the Laravel world, checking out framework updates, news, some cool packages, basically trying to give you the highlights so you can stay up to speed. Let's get cracking.
Absolutely. It's always amazing how much activity there is week after week. Constant improvements.
Definitely. So first up, let's look at the core. Laravel version 12.14.0. That landed May 13th. Paul Redmond at Laravel News flagged this one.
Yeah, and it brought a few neat little utilities. First one is r::from. Sergey Danilchenko contributed this.
Okay, r::from, another array helper. What's special here?
Well, you know how sometimes you have a collection or maybe an arrayable object and you just need the plain PHP array underneath?
Yeah, happens all the time.
Right. So r::from just gives you a consistent way to get that underlying array. It handles collections, JSONable, arrayable. It just figures it out.
Ah, handy. So like r::from Monster Collection just gives you back the array.
Exactly. r/collecta just returns names, Laravel. Simple, but really cleans up some code where you might be doing type checks or manual conversions.
Nice. Okay, what else was in 12.14?
There were new methods on the context class, except and except hidden. Volodya Kushudian added these.
The context class,
Yeah.
right, that holds data during the request lifecycle.
Precisely. And these methods let you grab all that context data except for specific keys you want to exclude.
I see. Like for logging, you want the context, but maybe not a sensitive API token that got added somewhere?
Exactly the use case. So you could do like log data, context.accept,
Yep.
sensitive token, and it gives you everything else. Just a clean way to prevent leaking sensitive info into logs or wherever you're using context.
Makes perfect sense. Useful little addition. Anything else on the core front?
One more, currently resolving. Justin Saliga contributed this container utility. It's a bit more niche, maybe.
Okay, currently resolving. What's the idea?
It tells you what binding the service container is in the process of resolving at that exact moment.
Okay. Where would you use that?
The main place seems to be within contextual attributes. So if you have an attribute like that register, for example, they showed, and it needs to know what class it's being injected into while it's being resolved, this method gives you that information.
Gotcha. So deeper magic for extending the container's contextual binding. Cool.
Yeah, it opens up some possibilities for more dynamic attribute behavior.
All right, let's shift gears. Validation. Always important. Laura Cass tweeted about a new rule. Rule : NF.
Oh yeah, this one looks really useful. It's for those situations where a field is valid if it meets any one of several different sets of rules.
Right, instead of writing complex conditional logic within a single rule closure or something.
Exactly. You just provide an array of rule sets. As long as the input passes at least one of those arrays of rules, the validation passes.
Okay, so the example they used was for a file upload, right? It could be a video or an image with different size limits.
Perfect example. So instead of messy if statements checking MIME types, you just do PHP file ruler read. I give MIME types.video, max.10240, video rules, MIME types.image, max.248 image rules, MIME types.
Ah, that's much cleaner. Way more readable. I like that. You can see the distinct possibilities clearly.
Yeah, it definitely simplifies things when you have those either validation scenarios. Big win for maintainability.
Okay, now for something a bit more serious. Security. Stephen Rees-Carter over at Mastering Laravel wrote about an XSS vulnerability.
Right, in the Common Mark library, specifically the attributes extension. And Laravel uses Common Mark for its stride : markdown helper.
So what was the issue exactly? Something about curly braces and markdown.
Yeah, the attributes extension lets you add HTML attributes like kcheck.class. But it turned out that even if you configured Common Mark to strip HTML input and disallow unsafe links, a malicious payload could still get through. Using something like one, it would bypass the filters and render an image tag with the owner attribute executing JavaScript.
Oof, that's not good. So does this affect most Laravel apps?
Well, the good news is Laravel's default configuration does not enable the attributes extension.
Okay. That's crucial.
Right. So you're likely safe unless you've specifically gone in and enabled that extension, or maybe if you're using a tool like Titan's Jigsaw, which apparently does use it by default.
So the immediate action is, if you are using that extension, run Composer Update right away.
Absolutely. Get the patched version of Common Mark.
Yeah.
And Stephen also recommended, generally running Composer Audit regularly, good practice.
Definitely. And maybe disable the extension if you don't strictly need it for untrusted input, or look into tools like HTML Purifier.
Yeah, those are good alternatives if you can't update immediately or need robust sanitization anyway. It's a good reminder to Really consider how different libraries and configurations interact, especially around security.
For sure. And speaking of security surprises, Joel Claremont, also at Mastering Laravel, had an interesting story.
Oh yeah, the new server thing?
Exactly. He set up a completely new server, like a staging domain, hadn't told anyone about it, and it immediately started getting scanned for exports.
Not just the IP, right, but the actual host name.
Yeah. Which is weird. How would attackers find a brand new unannounced domain name so quickly?
The likely answer is certificate transparency logs.
Ah, let's encrypt in those public logs.
Right. When you get an SSL certificate issued, it gets logged publicly. Attackers monitor these logs to discover new host names as soon as they get a certificate.
Wow, so much for security through obscurity. Even your secret staging server isn't secret for long.
Pretty much. The takeaway is you have to secure servers properly from the moment they go online. Don't assume nobody knows about them.
Good advice. Okay, let's lighten the mood a bit and talk about some cool packages and resources. Spady's been busy.
Yeah, Tim Van Dyke wrote a great piece on 5 levels of handling images in Laravel. Really practical progression.
Yeah, I saw that. Start simple, right? Level 1 is just plain Laravel.
Yep. Basic form, controller validation, required image max.2048. Use request file, image.store, uploads public, done.
But it's missing stuff. Resizing, optimizing.
Exactly. So level 2 brings in space image. Now you can actually manipulate the image, like image.load das with 800 save.
Yeah.
Resize it easily. Or crop, blur, grayscale, whatever.
Okay, better. But still maybe not optimized for the web.
Right. Level 3 adds space image optimizer. You just chain optimize on your space image call before saving. It shrinks the file size using background tools, usually without visible quality loss.
Nice. Seamless integration.
Very. But you're still just dealing with files, not really linking them nicely to your database models.
Which brings us to level 4, not Spatial Laravel Media Library.
Now we're talking. This package is all about associating files with eloquent models. It handles the storage structure, generates conversions like thumbnails automatically. It's super slick. You just do something like post add media from image to media collection featured.
That sounds much more integrated. Handles all the relationships in different versions.
Totally. It's the go-to for most serious eloquent-based file handling. But it doesn't give you a ready-made UI for uploading and managing files.
And that's level 5.
Level 5 is Media Library Pro, Spady's paid product. It adds polished view and Livewire components for the front end. Drag and drop, previews, easy integration with the back-end library, like using X-Media Library attachment name image in Blade.
Got it. So a nice progression from basic to fully featured. Great overview from Tim and Stady.
Definitely. Okay, another package, this one for cookie consent. Yannick Lin Fat highlighted Devrabior Laravel cookie consent on Laravel News.
Oh, GDPR stuff. Always fun. What's special about this one?
It aims to be super easy, like one-click implementation, zero performance hit, supports RTL, localization, dark mode.
Does it handle the actual consent logic, like different categories?
Yeah, it does. Essential, analytics, marketing categories. Users can give granular consent, and it can even block scripts automatically until consent is given for that category.
That's pretty comprehensive. Installation easy.
Seems like it. Standard composer require. Devrabior Laravel cookie consent. Publish the config, then just add cookie consent.styles in your head and cookie consent.scripts before the closing body tag.
Nice. Sounds like a solid option if you need GDPR compliance quickly. We'll link it in the show notes. Credit to Mohammed Rabiel for that.
For sure. Okay, next topic. Enums. Codecourse had a really good article by Alex Garrett-Smith digging into PHP 8.1 enums in Laravel.
Enums. Love them. They clarify so much compared to magic strings or constants.
Totally. And the article covers how to really leverage them in Laravel. First big thing is enum casting.
Right. In the model's casts array, you map an attribute name to the enum class, like statuses poststatus.class.
Exactly. And then when you access poststatus, you get back an actual poststatus enum instance, not just the string draft or published.
Which makes comparison so much safer and cleaner, like poststatus equals poststatus.draf.
Yep. And if you need to change the underlying value later, you only change it in the enum definition itself. Huge win.
What else do they cover? Labels.
Yeah, adding methods to your enum, like a label method, using a match expression to return a human-friendly string for each case. Then in Blade, just super clean.
Nice. Did they mention casting arrays? Like for JSON columns?
They did, using as enum collection colon of. So if you have a JSON column review flags, you can cast it using a enum collection.of, post review flags.class, in your model's casts. But the method, not the property here.
Okay. And then post review flags gives you back a collection of enum instances.
Exactly. So you can easily check if a flag exists using collection methods, like post review flags contains post review flags.outdated. Really powerful for multi-selects or tagging type features.
Wow, that's very cool. What about validation?
Simple. Rule : poststatus.class. And you can even chain only to restrict it to a subset of the enum cases if needed.
And implicit root binding.
Yep. Define a route like root.get post status and type hint the closure or controller method parameter as post status. Laravel automatically resolves the string from the URL to the correct enum case, or throws a 404 if it's not a valid case value.
Man, enums really do simplify a lot of things when used properly. Great deep dive from Code Course and Alex Garrett-Smith.
For sure. Okay, one last eloquent enhancement. Harris Raftopoulos wrote about can be know of many support being added to has many through relationship.
Has many through, getting one specific related model through the intermediate one.
Exactly. You could always get all the related models, but now you can easily define relationships to get just one, like the latest one, the oldest one, or one based on some other criteria like highest priority or longest duration.
How does that look in code?
In your model, you define the has-may through relationship as usual, but then you chain one so many, or one oldest of many. Or, for more complex stuff, one of many priority, max, to get the one with the highest priority, or even one of many estimated hours is max if the column name differs from the relationship name.
So you could have, like, on a department model, a latest task relationship.
Precisely. Or first task, or most critical task. And accessing it is just department latest task. It makes querying for these specific related items through intermediate tables way more expressive.
Yeah, that cleans up code that might otherwise involve subqueries or extra logic in the controller. Nice find by Harris Raftopoulos.
Definitely a useful addition to Eloquent's toolbox.
Well, that about wraps up the main updates and articles for this week. Quite a bit covered.
Yeah, from core tweaks and security fixes to some really powerful package features and eloquent improvements, the ecosystem just keeps moving.
It really does. Always something new to learn or a better way to do things.
So we'd love to hear from you out there. Any thoughts or questions on these topics? Did we miss anything cool? Let us know.
Definitely. Feedback's always welcome. And remember, all the links to the articles, the packages, everything we talked about will be in the show notes for you to check out.
Yep, go dig in further if anything caught your interest.
All right, then. Until next time.
See you next week.